Well, what they're doing is like handing over their decision making to someone else to decide for them.
Yes, and we think that that is like people in power do that. And what we miss in what you just said, which I think is just right on, is that if all the cult leaders and religious leaders died today, we would recreate them tomorrow, meaning that we actually want people to tell us what to do because it's very scary and hard to be a human. And so when someone says, I have a 12-step plan for your life, I've found the path, I found the way, then there actually is a part of us that wants to give up our autonomy because it's hard. It's hard out here being
And
a
I'm guessing
human.
you recognize people are doing that even with your work, so you try to get them to not do that with your work.
Yes, and especially because I work with people who are religious deconstructioners. I especially work with because I was raised Mormon. I work with a lot of ex-Mormons, and there are times where I can see them wanting to make a profit out of me just because that's where their brain is coming from. Their brain is
Yeah,
still wired from that for
yeah,
that, and I have to continually tell people like for me the great thing about working in spirituality for me is I'm not claiming to be special. I don't claim to be a medium. I don't claim to be psychic. I'm not anyone special. I just have been doing this for 20 years and maybe I have some tools that can help. So when people offer me their power and say, what do you do? What do you think about this? I continually have to push that power back to them and say, no, it doesn't matter what I think
yeah.
about this. What do you
Yes,
think
yes,
about this?
yes,
And that's a transition that can sometimes be hard, especially for people coming from
yeah.
religion where it's so overwhelming. You feel like a newborn baby when you leave your religion because you've lost your sense of morality, your sense of self, your community, your meaning and purpose. You've lost everything. And so you're very vulnerable. In fact, we have cult research on this that the time that you're most vulnerable for joining a cult is when you've
Getting
just
out of
left a
one.
cult. Yeah,
Yeah,
when you've just left one, that first year.
yeah.
And so because I often work with people who are deconstructing from religion, I have to help them kind of step into their own autonomy and their own power and give them tools and resources to be able to do that.
So I noticed a connection in another area. If you were in a very abusive romantic relationship, let's say the other person was the abusive one, and then that ended, you're very likely to get in another one. And
Yeah. Hmm.
recognize because of how you coped with the last one and you developed coping mechanisms on how to deal with the last one, you sort of get into another one and you don't see the abuse. It's the same stuff happening again, similar to jumping in another cult after leaving another one.
Yeah, and we have to actually tease out this is the hardest part about deconstruction. Just leaving the religion, like walking out of the pews and, doing some basic Bible history to realize how much of a mess it is. That's the easy part. The hard part is you have a brain that's been wired around this if you were raised in religion, and you
Yeah,
actually have to reconstruct that brain.
yeah.
That tends to be the hardest part.